Annie, bienvenue, hello. My name is Shrutika and I am a grade 4 student at Orchard Park School in Toronto. I acknowledge that my school is on the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississauga, the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and it is now home to many diverse First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people. I also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga Credit. I am working on my yellow quiz titled, How Much Do You Know About Water? You should have the same 8 questions on your handout. Take time now. Take a guess. Take a shot at the answers. While I work on this, my teacher wants to talk to you.
Hi, my name is Mrs. McQuestion, and while Shrutika finishes the My Dawn quiz, let me explain today's lesson. We're going to go through a resource tool that I have found to be extremely useful and engaging for my students. This pre-quiz that you're currently doing indicates the overall background knowledge and variance of my students' knowledge and skills, allowing me to adjust my lesson. It also refocuses their brain as we transition to the main lesson. Next, as a whole class activity, we will listen to the CBC podcast, The Secret Life of Canada, Season 2, Episode 10, The Secret Life of Water. The answers from the pre-quiz will be found in the first few minutes of the episode. More importantly, the podcast allows students to practice their listening comprehension of complex texts that are both conversational and formal. The Secret Life of Canada podcast unearths and reclaims the unofficial Canadian past. The hosts focuses on the individuals, location, and tales that might not have been included in the school textbooks. On to the next activity, Water on First Nation Reserve. This is a read-along activity with first-person testimonial and reflective questions. All of this is linked into the Ontario curriculum through geography, history, social and Indigenous studies, anthropology, and civics.
Didn't you know that the Falen's community was in the news? The Guardian reported that 91% of Six Nation residents didn't have access to clean water, even though there was a newly installed water treatment plant.
The how-to guide. 1. First thing you should do is you can download and listen to the podcast from over 40 different platforms. Be aware that they cover subjects are sometimes in depth, so 40 to 50 minutes. Or you can have a very specific and focused shout-out episode, which lasts about 2 to 5 minutes on a wonderful person's underappreciated life story. You can listen as it as a whole class, or you can do it as a take-home activity for students. To get access to the resources, slides, PowerPoints, all that good stuff, you can find them under the Google Drive, following the URL code in your handout. Customize any of the teaching and resource content because it's all free. My favorite part about this whole resource package is not having to create PowerPoint slides. They're already made on the Google Doc, and you can see here that they cover all the points brought up during the podcast episodes, including Indigenous perspectives, world's perspective, locals perspectives, as well as making it accessible that my downtown students can still understand the importance of water. And
It is important to note that the podcast teaching guide is intended to encourage students to act by bringing to light the rich and dynamic history that is happening all around them. A disclaimer though, the podcast frequently has a fun tone, yet some of the episodes can include triggering materials, the loss of culture, residential schools, racism, prejudice, and oppression are a few of these subjects. Consider a letter to families and available student support. Now, this is not the only episode with supportive teaching materials. They also include The Secret Life of Chinatown, of the North, of the province of Jamaica, of water, the Indian Act. But as teachers yourselves, you have the freedom to design more lessons based on other episodes that you find of interest to the curriculum or of your students' interest. When you are referencing the podcast, remember there are over 80 episodes from 5 seasons. The first episode looks into the history of the well-known tourist destination of Banff, Alberta. The latest episode from March of this year explores where have all the moles gone. As a take-home activity, students would update their water journals over the course of the week. Later, we would compare and contrast using Stats Canada's infographics about residential and water usage on and off the reserves. These can turn into mathematical graphs. They are also great to starting points for any short writing assignments. Miigwech, merci, and thank you for engaging in our presentation about the Secret Life of Canada podcast teaching guides. Hope you found this information useful as you go out to be future teachers.
Created using Powtoon.